welcome to the program. My name is Lauren Glass, and with me are Mike Connors, IT Tech from Riverside Brookfield High School, and Matthew Talungan from CDW. And today we'll be talking about online privacy. So, Mr. Connors, how private is online privacy? Like, how would you...
Well, I think it's something that's, people don't realize how unprivate it is. People have access to a lot of information just by social websites. Even when you're out there, people can track you and stuff like that. So it's really not that private, and you have to be careful when you're going to certain websites and doing certain searches and things like that, and even making online purchases.
What do you think, Mr. Talungan?
I agree a lot with what Mike has to say. One of the biggest things that we deal with at CDW is trying to help businesses and find the best way to protect their information as well as the information of their customers. So there's no magic button where one day everyone's going to be really secure with what they're looking at, what they're doing online. If there was, people like me and Mike might not be needed so much. But the biggest thing to remember is that they're only going to know what you want them to know.
Right.
So you have to be aware of what you're doing and where you're going at all times.
So what kind of security measures would you put in place to ensure that private information does not get out?
Well, one of the simplest things to do would be like to change your passwords on a regular basis. If you have social media sites that you visit quite a bit, you may not want to list all of your information out there. The less is more kind of a thing. You take the approach that the less I put out there, the less somebody can find on me. One of the intrusion prevention for an organization like this school here to protect the information that you guys have, there's standards that the school has to follow to protect your information so that it can't get out online because you guys are all minors. So those types of solutions can take place, in the server closet or server room where Mike works, and he can use appliances and software to help see where there are holes and what is coming through and what's not coming through.
Same question, Mr. Connors.
I would say, going back to one of the things that Matt said, is with passwords, some people, especially back in the day, they would put password as their password, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, making it complex. A lot of the websites have kind of tried to avoid that, but make sure that you don't share your passwords or make them abundantly obvious what they are. Another thing would be if you're going to do online purchasing, make sure that you use a reputable credit card.
Right.
Don't give out your checking account routing number, things like that. When you're using it for payment, make sure that it's a good idea to use reputable sites too. For instance, PayPal is one, and Amazon has a pay service where you can trust some of the websites. If you go to them, you really don't know if they're a legitimate business or if they're just somebody set something up and they're trying to get your credit card number.
What viruses do you guys see the most, throughout a day?
It's really so diversified now. It's really a lot of multiple attacks.
Right.
We have a device on our network, a firewall that can kind of tell us what people have been how they've been trying to break in and things like that. And when you look at the logs and stuff like that, you'll see that a lot of times it's multiple stuff. Right. It's viruses and malware and stuff like that has been around so long that there's so many out there, that there's some out there from years ago that are still trying to be used, or might be on somebody's computer, so it's trying to spread itself. It's a multi-pronged attack when people are trying to get your information or trying to get into your computer.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think almost every attack that comes as a virus is something that was written, in the 80s or maybe even the late 70s, and there's no way to stop them completely. So even if you use a company, a software company for antivirus protection, those databases have to constantly be what's the right word?
Like updated.
Yeah, re-updated, or they have to, the definitions have to be rewritten.
Yeah.
Because something that you might have had attack you, 2 years ago, well, now since it's gone through so many other different channels, or they add a little bit of programming to it, now it becomes just the same entity, but there's one more variable that it throws in when it tries to attack.
And the major problem too is that a lot of times it's more of a reactionary approach.
Right.
It's hard to be proactive against something that somebody's writing. So a lot of times the virus definitions and even software updates that are meant to fix these holes, they can be sometimes 1 to 3 months behind.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and we will be right back. Hi, and welcome back. With me is Mike Connors from RB, he's an IT tech, and Matthew Talungan from CDW, and we are still talking about online privacy. So one of my questions is, how would you protect your email?
A lot of times what the news or the trend has been lately is that people will send you emails from like your bank and say, oh, well, this money transaction is, didn't go through, or you did a money transaction, and they'll put links in there. So if you click on one of those links, well, you've just infected your computer. Or it'll ask you to put in, or you click on a link, it'll ask you to put in information that's, shouldn't be spread around the web. So what you can do a lot of times is, most of the time, banks will not send you that kind of information, or the IRS or anything like that. And a lot of times, if you put your mouse over the link on the bottom of your browser, it'll oftentimes tell you where the link goes to, and you'll see it's probably some address that you've never heard of. Also, it's probably important to make sure that you have your spam turned on your email, which most of the time that's the case, but also to kind of keep up with, you have often in many of the emails you have the option to mark email as spam, so that helps them also protect yourself for further emails and even other people.
What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of that, I echo those sentiments. Probably the thing that I do the most to protect my email privately is because, I have work email and I also have personal email, and to keep those separate. So if you're using, if you own a business or something like that, to make sure that, you have to safeguard that type of information. Going to any type of a website that there's nothing in the link, or the subject message is a link, you probably shouldn't even bother opening those or clicking on those messages, because that's what they want to do. They want to steal your contact list. So, and that's a Trojan horse virus that's typically written in the email a lot. And just when you think they finally picked it up, it'll show back up a couple of months later, and you go through the whole process again. And that's where changing your passwords comes in, because if somebody does get your contact list and they have been able to, through keystroke, or one of the other ways to determine, what some of your other user information is, then they can start doing things like, getting your bank information. And there's been a bevy of places that thought they were protected, businesses, retail operations, gaming sites that have all been hit, and their databases were what were attacked. And the majority of those all have some type of online or email format that's attached to that when you fill out those forms.
Right.
So it's really important to make sure that you know who you're communicating with. If it's, first of all, from an email address you don't recognize or somebody you don't know, don't open it.
Now, do you think there will always be a way that someone can get that information? Regardless of what you do?
our job is to make it harder for them to do that. So, and just as soon as we figure out what they were doing, like he said, 3 to 6 months ago, as soon as we figure out what that problem is, somebody else is going to come along and write a different way to find that information. And sometimes it could be, you're visiting your favorite website and maybe they're being attacked and you don't realize that. You click on something and that site kind of kidnaps where you're looking online, and before you know it, you've already been invaded and they have the information that they need. It's not the website that you were looking at may not be corrupted, but somebody might have written some type of code in there that can hijack your mouse clicks.
Okay, so another question is Google. How safe is Google?
Google, for the most part, it's a lot better than it used to be.
Right.
But there's still sometimes when, if you do certain searches, you will get websites that, are fake or will spread viruses and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't understand that. I run into it a lot where, I don't know how I got this, I don't know what I did, and it could have been something as simple as you typed in a search and something about what they typed in brought up results, and a lot of times the farther you go down on the list of your results, the bigger chance you do take.
Yeah, images probably on Google are probably the most unsecured.
Yeah.
Simply because they can write code into the image that you as a end user would never see. So you click on a picture because you think you want to put it in a project, and the next thing you know, you get the blue screen of death or something is being attacked. And that's difficult, especially for, high school kids. You guys got to do a lot of research papers and stuff like that. So, just not too long ago, my daughter is a big fan of Spotify, and she didn't realize that there was a weakness there. And before asking for permission or having me do it for her, she tried to do it herself, and now I got to figure out how to fix her computer.
Wow.
So.
Well, that is all the time we have on today's episode. My name is Lauren Glass, and I want to thank my two special guests, Mike Connors and Matthew Talungan. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.